Most LEGO fans are sick of police sets. Every year it feels like we're getting another round of police cars and stations. But what most fans are not sick of is Space Police, a theme that has appeared 3 times in LEGO's history. The first version of this theme made its way onto shelves in 1989, and saw the Space Police pitted against Blacktron, the bad boys of classic space. The second, which came out in 1992 and 1993, saw LEGO ditch the black and blue for green and light gray. Once again, the Space Police were in charge of protecting the galaxy against Blacktron, but after 1993, the Space Police disappeared. However, in 2009, the property finally returned, with a brand new look, and a completely different cast of villains. And it was quite a special theme, considering the fact it came out in celebration of 30 years of LEGO Space. Obviously, by 2009, Blacktron had long since disappeared, and for this reboot, the Space Police were instead in charge of trying to capture alien criminals, which included the Black Hole Gang. Similar to the first edition of this property, the vehicles resembled what the LEGO City police officers had here on Earth. Mostly white, with blue translucent windows, and hints of red spread all over. Even the logo, which included a badge, seemed not too far off from what we might receive in a typical city police theme. While the Space Police members resembled normal LEGO police officers with a simple, identical uniform, and a lack of any named characters, the villains all came with names, backstories, and some pretty cool vehicles. Ultimately, these villains were a lot cooler and even scarier than what we're used to receiving in LEGO City. And for an unlicensed, non-evergreen theme, it's safe to say that LEGO knocked it out of the park when it came to the villains from LEGO Space Police. These villains were doing everything, from stealing, forging and smuggling gold, gambling, grand theft spaceship, stealing cannons, moon melting, hyperspeeding, space racketeering, mob control, looting, breaking out of jail, vandalism, and more. But who were they? And what did the Space Police bring to the table in terms of vehicles in their battle against the Black Hole Gang? In 2009, fans received Squidman, who had his own pit stop, where criminals could get their ships repaired. Cranks, who piloted the Hot Rod hover cycle. Snake, who drove the space truck, which, interestingly enough, has some Blacktron graffiti on it and a crossed-out classic space logo, along with a stolen Space Police laser cannon, and the Skull Twins, with their Skull Interceptor. Meanwhile, characters like Frenzy and Slizer either operated small vehicles or ended up locked up. On the other side, in addition to some generic small ships and vehicles, the Space Police operated the XL Space Freighter, which was used to transport gold. The VX Falcon, reminiscent of normal high-speed police cars. The Max Security Transport, a car-like vehicle used to transport the most dangerous of criminals to jail. And of course, the Galactic Enforcer, a modular ship that is quite similar to the mobile police stations that have become an essential part of any LEGO City Police line. Interestingly enough, the Galactic Enforcer also includes a statue of a classic spaceman in honor of the 30th anniversary of space. Underneath the statue is a plaque in Latin, which is translated to 30 years of building, and the sky is still unlimited, or 3 decades of building in the infinite heavens, referring to the endless possibilities that exist with LEGO Space, this line of course being one of them. Additionally, many of the Space Police had jetpacks, which provided them the ability to easily track down the Black Hole Gang without any sort of vehicle. On the topic of vehicles, something cool about the Space Police lineup was the inclusion of pods for the alien criminals. These pods introduced a modular component, as they could be taken off with ease, and also included a target, which when hit by a weapon from an alien's vehicle would break open the pod, allowing whatever criminal was inside the opportunity to easily escape. Also, as I mentioned previously, this theme takes place in a much scarier world than what the LEGO City Police are used to. And with that, it's important to note that the Space Police were armed with cannons and missiles. They were taking on some pretty tough villains, and they certainly could use all the help they could get. Lucky for fans, The third edition of Space Police returned the next year, in 2010, but with a few key differences. What's interesting first off doesn't even deal with the sets, but instead the box art. 2009's theme saw all the sets take place in outer space, either over other planets, or just out somewhere random in the galaxy. However, in 2010 that changed, with all sets taking place inside what looks to be an outer space city. Are the Space Police going on the offensive, clearing the galaxy for further conquest and expansion? Or instead, are they chasing criminals out of their city? Some of these sets from the 2010 theme look like walls to the space city were destroyed, which leads me to believe that the civilization the Space Police belong to was invaded. We don't know what the Space Police are, what their ultimate goal is, or what's going on in the bigger story. Are the Black Hole gang members stealing gold, or simply reclaiming it? Sure, they're committing crime, but are the Space Police invading and taking over what was once their home? Additionally, while their torsos and legs stayed the same, the Space Police officers received new helmets, which came with red visors. Last but not least, there was a new group of villains, with brand new vehicles, still members of the Black Hole gang. While there's no set lore with what their goal was, I think at the very least, their goal of invading the civilization the Space Police protected was perhaps to get revenge on the defeat of the rest of the crew in the previous year's sets. Without further ado, it's time I introduce the villains LEGO put out in 2010. For starters, there was Squidtron, a robot created by Squidman, involved in racketeering, that drove the Ram Raider. Additionally, there was Wrench, a distant relative of Cranks, involved in the destruction of planetoids and prison pod walls, who, interestingly enough, wears a Blacktron uniform, with the Blacktron 2 logo. Also, there was Jawson, a character involved in breaking in and out of the Astro jail, and Craniac, who drove the alien space chopper, and was involved with looting and stealing, who bore an Insectoids logo on his back. Last but not least, there was Brick Daddy, the ultimate boss of the Black Hole gang, who, up until this point in the Space Police lore, had never been seen. Brick Daddy drove the Lunar Limo, a fabulous vehicle, and the biggest of the Black Hole gang fleet, perfect for the leader of this criminal crew. On the other side, the Space Police also had some new vehicles to add to the fleet. Between the Raid VPR, a high-tech vehicle used to track down vehicles, and the Undercover Cruiser, a Space Police vehicle disguised as a regular space cargo ship, which looks awfully similar to the Typhoon Turbo Sub, which came out the same year under the LEGO Atlantis theme, the Space Police had a small, yet solid lineup of sets in 2010. Additionally, there was the Space Police Central, a simple yet special build that presents several great opportunities for play. With those 5 sets released in 2010, the third edition of Space Police came to an end. Similar to other LEGO themes, Space Police had fewer sets in its second year than it did its first, a common trend for themes on their way out. Looking back, this theme was one that, while simple, was also special. While the Space Police vehicles were cool, they did not break from the typical police color palette, and I think that benefited the theme. Sure, the police were simple and unnamed, but the level of detail and care put into the villains with their unique vehicles and creative designs does not go unnoticed. And it's no surprise that this is another classic, unlicensed, non-evergreen LEGO theme that still exists in the hearts and minds of many LEGO fans. In terms of lore, I obviously raised the question, who exactly are the Space Police? And what is their goal earlier today? Are they the good guys protecting outer space? Or a militaristic group interested in colonizing the galaxy? However, that isn't the only lore point I want to bring up, as the various Blacktron references make me wonder if the Black Hole gang is connected to Blacktron, the bad boys of classic space. Of course, Blacktron was the enemy of the Space Police in the first 2 versions of this theme, so it makes sense for LEGO to reference them in the new property. But still, what is the Black Hole gang's connection? Are they followers or worshippers of the original Blacktron? Or perhaps a rogue group hired by Blacktron to disrupt peace and cause chaos in the civilization the Space Police protect? Once again, the possibilities are endless. But I love how LEGO provided plenty of opportunities for fans to create their own stories with this fantastic lineup of sets. But before we go, I gotta know, what are your thoughts on the scary world of LEGO Space Police?